Tools, hey, that's one of the things I get all the questions about really a lot, is what tools do I need to start leatherworking? So today we're going to cover the really super basic things you might even be able to find in your kitchen drawer kind of tools that at least get you started and decide if you want to kind of start this crazy thing called leatherwork. So stay tuned. So today we're going to talk about basic tools. Conceptually, what I'm trying to explore, and what a lot of the people have asked me is, what do I need to get started in leatherwork? Leather's expensive, and a lot of times you're just trying something out, so you don't really have a lot of money or interest maybe in investing in more serious tools. Even the moderately priced tools can be expensive. So what I'm going to try to do is sort of the shoestring budget version of what tools that you're going to need. Okay. And that's all we're going to cover. And I'll show you briefly how to use some of them, although most of these tools are so obvious. It's like, oh, okay. And then in a follow-up video, I will get a little more advanced and show you kind of the next level. So let's get started with super ultra basic tools that you might even have laying around in your house. And this is perfect for people who perhaps are maybe just getting into leather. They just need it to support another craft, or perhaps they're getting into like bushcraft and they just want to get started somehow. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? And in the ultimate way that I do these kind of things, I'm going to do this really fancy editing cut where I'm going to just put the screen down. Okay, so here I have pretty much everything you need to get started in leatherworking. Please do not be shocked at the overwhelmingly large quantity of tools that would, make a snap-on truck guy just dance with glee. So let's look at these. And again, I put these in here specifically for the idea of, hey, let's do this on a budget, and excuse all the other tools because, well, I ain't got no time for that. All right. And by the way, guys, my poor quality has nothing to do with my concern for you as much as it is I just want to get the information out there in a way that supports you and supports me and the work I actually have to do, because I do actually have jobs to work on. So there's that too, but more on that another time. So there really is probably only two tools that need to be explained here. Okay, I will explain them nonetheless. So first, a mallet. Okay, notice this is not a metal hammer. Okay, at least not the ends are metal, because a lot of the tools that you use, you will strike, and that tool is made out of metal, and oftentimes it's not particularly hard metal, or even if it is, a metal hammer is going to chip or damage the tool. The tool's pretty expensive oftentimes, so you don't want to do that. Also, the softer, like the rubber side, is useful for when you actually strike the leather, because there are times that you may want to do that. Okay, I don't think I need to show you how to use a hammer. The next tool that is pretty obvious is a ruler. Again, this is a Harbor Freight purchase. By the way, this is probably $25 worth of tools. Maybe not even that much, because some of these tools you might be able to find cheaply at garage sales and stuff like that. But anyway, a metal ruler, it's great to cut against. I also like the ones that have the cork on the bottom because they don't slide as much. Okay. The next tool of sheer obviousness is a marking device. In this case, it's one of those gel pens. Honestly, anything that you want to use is fine. Just understand that when you mark leather, if you're going to not dye it, or if you're going to dye it lightly, and you mark it on the front side, the line will show up. Now, theoretically, you're cutting all the lines away, so it won't matter. Just be cautious of that. There are other things you can use to mark. A soft lead pencil is fine too, because you can literally erase that. It may leave a little residue on the leather. Leather is soft enough that you can literally mark it with your finger. And oftentimes I suggest that you can use the awl, all right, which is the next tool that I'm going to show you, to mark up what you're doing. I actually would suggest that you use a other inexpensive one. This is a scratch awl, and it's exactly made to scratch metal. okay? And it can scratch the leather, but it's more of an indentation. And you won't see that as much as if you use a pen or a pencil. Just do whatever works for you, a little practice. This is like $2. But do what works for you. Now, this all is very important because this is one of the ways we will make holes in leather. When you get down to it, almost every operation in leather, especially when we're at our basic level, is about basically 2 or 3 things. A, you've got to cut the leather into pieces. B, you got to make holes in the leather in order to join the pieces together. And something we're not going to get into as much at this basic level, but 3, you're going to somehow modify or shape the leather or put indentations or snaps or stamps in it, and that'll come later. But those are the 3 basic steps, things and conceptual things that you're doing with leather. Okay, you're cutting it into pieces, you're putting holes in it, and then you're putting those pieces together. Okay, the awl is one of those things that you're going to use in order to put the pieces together because we need to make holes in the leather. Okay, and this is one of the ways to make holes. Now, it's really difficult to see, but this actually has a diamond profile. In other words, it's not just a pointy thing. It's got a diamond shape to the blade, much like a stiletto. And that is intentional because when you make holes in the leather, those corners are perfect for when you're stitching, okay, so that the thread will actually sit in those corners and lock in tighter than if you just make plain old regular holes, which is what you would use the hole punch for. So you can use the hole punch to make holes, and basically it's a squeezy thing. Okay, so you're going to take your leather and you're going to put it in here. Let's go on this side just because. All right, and I squeeze it, and now I have a hole. Okay, this is great for fasteners such as rivets, snaps, and other hardware, as opposed to this awl, which will not make a very good hole. It takes a lot more force to use this awl than it does this. Okay, so for the really super basics, it's a lot easier to just stick with one of these. These are from Harbor Freight, and if you notice how the handle is, you get a lot more force a lot easier than you do with a more professional one that I use. But the idea is that you could just go along and you could make, if you're going to sew this piece to another piece, you just go along and you'd make your holes in a row. This would be your stitching holes, all right? And then you would mesh that up to something else, all right, with the same stitching holes to stitch them together. And you would use a last component, or one of the last components, a needle. And again, you can't really see this too well, but this needle is actually pretty blunt. And that's the point. You don't actually really ever use your needle to go into the leather and pierce it. It's just to go into the holes. Okay, so if I was going to use this tool here, I'd either go through like that, which is really hard because it's really thick. Okay, but you can see I do have a hole. All right. You can also, using this cutting board type thing, you can push down through and it'll make a hole. These don't work as good, okay? And honestly, this is one of the first tools that you're going to replace if you're going to do a lot of stitching. But this is just basic stuff. Most of you will start off just putting holes in it to either sew with this, or, you know, this is pretty thick thread, or lace, or use rivets, okay? And of course, last but not least, the cutting part. This is a $1.99 utility knife. I like this one particularly because it's got the snap-off blade, so I can actually snap these blades off and get a super sharp point in a relatively short amount of time. I don't have to actually sharpen a blade or take care of it. Again, as a beginner, that's not something that you want to get into. You just want to get started. And it works perfectly fine for making any kind of cut that I may need to make, okay? It's easy. All right, there are way more expensive blades that you can purchase, but I'm going for something that is relatively easy and inexpensive, and that will get you started in a short amount of time. Okay, so hopefully, hello guys. Hopefully you have found this useful. as the super easy, basic things you might even find in your kitchen drawer kind of thing. Again, almost all of these tools are easily accessible. You don't even have to go to a leather specialty store or order online. That is an option. When it comes to places to order tools, I'll be sure to put stuff in the comments. Tandy Leather, you really can't go wrong with most of their things. Some of their tools are a little overpriced. And they have grades of tools that you can make that choice as to whether you want a more expensive one or not. If you're going to buy a ruler or a plain old knife, I suggest you just go to the local store, the dollar store even, just to get started. Okay? Some tools from Tandy are superior to even other leather stores. But a lot of the other leather vendors, such as Springfield Leather, Weaver Leather, or Maker's Leather Supply, also have all the tools that you would need. Just do what fits your budget. But these are the basics to get you started. So hopefully this is helpful. And again, this is sort of going with the theme of just getting you started. I am a firm believer in understanding the super basics of any manipulation of a craft, because then you can better take advantage and also better know what tools you need moving forward. If you are spending a lot of time with a tool that you don't really know how to use, then you can't take full advantage of it because you don't know the basics. So if you start fairly basic, then you're going to develop far superior skills as you get maybe better tools. And in some cases, I don't care how expensive this is, as long as it's pretty accurate. It ain't going to change really how you're working. Certain things, such as an awl, such as a knife, or the punch, could play a significant difference in how easy it is to do things, but not always. So if you kind of know the bare basics, if you kind of think about like, gee, if I was a leathersmith back in the Middle Ages, what tools would I have? Would you have a utility knife? No, but you'd have some kind of knife. Okay. Oh, and another quick, easy, common replacement for this would be an X-Acto knife, depending on the thickness of what you've got. And I'll show you some other cutting tools in a future follow-up video. But the whole point is, a lot of times they had super basic tools, nothing special, and you have access to those same tools. So sometimes we can look in the past and learn a lot about what will work for us when it comes to doing our craft or exploring a new one. So hopefully you found this useful. Make cool shit.